Hi, it's Lindy Deppie with lindyscards.com from Newport News, Virginia. This Celebrate Sunflowers card that we're going to be creating was inspired by the Ukraine flag. We have a 8.5 by 11 piece of paper cut at 5.5 and scored at 4.25 with a balmy blue piece of paper that is 4 by 5.25. We will be using a Granny Apple Green Stampin' Write marker along with a Mango Melody marker and an espresso marker. We're going to do some watercoloring with these, and to do a whitewash we're going to be using a white watercolor pencil and also a watercolor pen from Stampin' Up. We're going to be using the Celebrate Sunflowers stamp set along with the sentiment from Waves of Inspiration, your strength is in inspiration. Okay, so we're starting with our 4 by 5.25 piece of balmy blue. We're going to go ahead and using our balmy blue ink pad, we are going to stamp the sunflower image. Whenever I have a large stamp, I like to turn the stamp upside down and take the ink pad to the stamp. I think I get a much better coverage that way. So we're going to go ahead and stamp in the upper right hand corner. Okay, it's also a good idea to cut out a mask because I want it to look like one sunflower is behind another. It only takes not long at all really to cut these out and then just save them. You can see I've used it several times. The hardest part is figuring out how to cover something over. But one thing that I want to point out is I've fast forwarded it, but if you look, you need to be able to see the little lines. Otherwise, you'll have an empty space between the flower and whatever image that you are using. Right, so now I'm going to take the watercolor pencil, the white one. If you don't have a white watercolor pencil, you can use your water pen with white craft ink, but you will have to let the white craft ink dry. With a watercolor pencil, there's no drying time. So as you can see, I'm going to speed it up because I know you don't want to watch me do that, but I'm just whitewashing, coloring in all of the petals. And I usually do just a section at a time and then let it dry in between the sections in case I want to add any more detail to it. So I'm taking the Stampin' Write marker and just squiggling it onto a block. If you don't have the Stampin' Write markers, you can use the stamp pad and do the same thing and get the same effect. And then you just pick up a little bit of the ink with your watercolor pen, and as you could see, that's a dirty rag, but anyway, when you squeeze it, I just get a little bit of water out and then kind of dry it off. You don't want to use too much water. This isn't watercolor paper. And then basically I just traced over the lines that made the sunflower and then just drew just a little bit of the color onto the rest of the petal. So as you go through and just kind of outline the petal where the marks, it's very easy, just trace the lines that are already given to you. And as the card dries, the color becomes a little bit lighter, and then towards the end you'll be able to see better the effect that it gives. So I'm going to go ahead and speed this up too, because once you get the idea of just pulling the color down on the lines that you already have from the stamp, you just continue on. It's very relaxing. So a lot of times I'll stamp quite a few images. Watercoloring is my favorite medium to use, and while watching TV or even sitting outside with my husband, I'll just color. finishing up the sunflower, and I'm just going to go back and add some of the color back to the base of the flower petals, and maybe shadow in some of the leaves just to give it a nice effect. So just go ahead and make any corrections or enhancements as you choose. I'm now using the espresso marker and with the block and using the water pen just to add a little bit of detail around the edges, make it a little bit darker, and then I'm going to whitewash the center with just a small coating of the espresso. Now I'm going to use the Granny Apple Green to color in the leaves, and it's using the same process. It's a very simple card, but very beautiful once it's completed. Okay, I did the same process with the second flower, and just using a little bit of ink, I'm going in and just touching up. Once I'm satisfied with my watercolor, I went ahead and used the embossing buddy to get any oils that might have been deposited on the card. This is a really nice way to make sure that you get a very clean embossing. Okay, so I'm using the sentiment and stamping with Versamark ink onto the bottom left corner. Okay, and you can see it's very faint. And then you bring in your embossing powder. I chose to use white. Thought it would show up very nicely against the light blue, and it would enhance the whitewash as well. And just give it a good tap to make sure you get all the extra off. I always have a small paintbrush that I keep handy to clean the edges up a little bit. Okay, once you're pleased with the image, go ahead and use your heat emboss gun. Mine is not Stampin' Up, although Stampin' Up does make them. I've had this heat gun forever, so I just going to use it until I guess it dies. I always like to give the back a good run by just to get it heated up, and it helps the card not to warp too badly. And one thing I do want to point out, especially when you're using white, once you see the image come through, it goes from a dull color to a very shiny one. Go ahead and make sure that you stop then, because if you do it too much, it's going to turn that white into clear, and then it'll be very blotchy looking. And then I just took some Wink of Stella, kind of just brushed it over the leaves a little bit. It's kind of hard to see on camera, but it did leave a nice little sparkle like morning dew on the flower. Then we're just going to go ahead and pop it up with dimensionals onto the card base. As I said, it's a very simple, very pretty card. Very relaxing just to sit and watercolor. Or you can use any medium that you prefer. But I do think these colors are very pretty. Your strength is an inspiration. And I decided to add some white gems from Stampin' Up, just to tie in the whitewash and the embossed sentiment. I hope you've enjoyed this card. If there's anything I can do for you, please let me know. lindyscards.blogspot.com is my blog, and if you hop over there, you will see a hostess link. So if I can get anything for you, need any supplies, please let me know. If I can be your demonstrator, I would love to do that for you. Any comments are appreciated, and if you like this video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. And again, if there's anything I can do for you, please let me know. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day, and here is our finished product. Take care.